Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the final fun and exciting intermediate math class. I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad we're finishing today, and I know you are too. We're in chapter number 12, lesson number 2, and that is on page 493. In page 493, we see where we're going to be solving inequalities. What's an inequality? Well, we learned that in the last lesson. An inequality is where you have a sign that's not equal to something else. It's greater than, less than, something like that. So let's go ahead and look down here at the screen. And this problem here that we're looking at is pretty straightforward. It really is. We're just going to, in a way, pretend like this is an equal sign. So let's just even rewrite it with an equal sign just so you can see it. It's like you've seen this before, right? That's just an equation, and we know how to solve that. So let's just pretend that that's an equal sign, and let's just work it like we would if it was an equation. It's an inequality, but we're going to pretend for now that it's an equation. So we're going to just subtract 4 from both sides, right? And that's going to cancel that, and we're going to get x, and then we'll write this sign is less than, and then we're going to do 2 minus 4 is going to give us negative 2. Okay, so this is our answer. Now the checking on these is just a little bit different, right? We used to just plug in there and we would get negative 2 equals negative 2 or 2 equals 2 or whatever. Well, if you plug into this, you're going to get 2 is less than 2, and that's not true. If it was an equal sign, then that would work, but in this case, it doesn't work. So how are we going to check these? Well, the way that you check these answers is you would do, so basically we have to say what this is. What is this saying to us? It says x is less than negative 2. So in other words, when we did our number line over here, and we have the negative 2 over here, in this case, we would say that our x has to be over here, okay? So nothing over here is going to work. What that's saying is that everything over here is a solution. So we would try something. Well, what's a number that's over here? Well, negative 5 is a number that's over here on this side of this. So let's try negative 5 and see if it works. Let's kind of test our theory right here and see if that works. So we're going to plug negative 5 in for our x. So negative 5 plus 4 is less than 2. Let's make sure that that works. Negative 5 plus 4 is going to be negative 1. Negative 1 is less than 2. Yes, that works. So that means that all of these numbers over here on this side of our negative 2, why negative 2? Because that was our critical number. Remember, we talked about that in the last lesson. So that's how you check these. Check these with your number line, and then make sure that all of those numbers over there are going to check. And yes, you're right. I know what you're thinking. You're saying, Mr. Steve, you should have put a 0 or you could have circled on the 2. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't really doing the number line as much as I was just showing you kind of how to check these. So, but if I'm going to do a number line, because this is not equal to, we would circle that. Now, if it was less than or equal to, then we would color this in. But since it's not equal to, we don't color that in. All right, now, here's where it kind of throws a little curveball to you, okay? What does that mean? Well, when you're pitching, right, a lot of players will pitch a fastball, which is nice and straight. That was what those first ones were. Nice and straight, no change, no problem. Well, a curveball, it pretends like it's coming straight, and then it does something weird. It curves, and so the batter swings and misses. So I don't want you to swing and miss on these. So what we need to do is we need to figure out what the curveball is, identify it, and say, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake. So here's the curveball. When multiplying or dividing an inequality by a negative number, there's the key word right there, by a negative number, then we flip the inequality. So we take this sign and we flip it, okay? So it's greater than right now. We flip it to make it less than. If and only if we multiply or divide by a negative number, we flip the inequality. There's your keys right there. Multiply, divide, negative, flip. Okay? Write that statement down. That statement is so important. You're going to miss these if you don't do these right. All right, so here we go. What do we do here if this was an equal sign? Let's just say if it's an equal sign. All right, so if it's x over negative 3 equals 12, how do we solve this? Well, we would multiply a negative 3 by both sides, right? So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to multiply this negative 3 by both sides. Well, we have a problem immediately because now we have to come back up to this rule. Notice it says when we're multiplying by a negative number, we flip the inequality. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want to come over here and we'll go ahead and just cancel this out. So this cancels and we get x. Now, don't forget to flip this inequality. This is where students mess up right here. They don't flip the inequality. So now we're flipping it to a less than sign. And now we have to do this math right here, which is going to give us a negative 36. And that would be our answer. X is less than negative 36. Now, you might not totally believe me here, but this actually works. If we go back up here to kind of where we started from, and we try to figure out, okay, so is this actually true? So if you take your number line, and we're going to call this 0, and we'll call this negative 36. I'm just making up stuff, right? So let's try a number that's over here, okay? Because remember, it's less than. So let's try negative 40. Let's see what negative, actually, because we have to divide by negative 3, let's do a negative 39. I picked one that's divisible by 3, so that'll make this a little bit easier. So if we do negative 39 divided by negative 3, and we're going to go back to the original sign, is greater than 12. Okay, because I'm checking it back into the original. So I want you to understand that this does make sense. The fact that it's pointing to this side means that it's less than, but then when we put it back into the original, I want you to see that it does really make sense when we're talking about this right here, and I'll show you why. Notice what happens here is we have negative negative. That's the trick to this, right? The negative negative is going to cancel out, and when we divide this out, we're going to get what? We're going to get 13 is greater than 12. Is that true? Yes, that's true, because we had a positive 13 is greater than a 12. That is true. Now, if it was negative, then that would be different. But this is positive, so 13 is greater than 12. It works. If you will just trust me, if you will just learn this right here, later on in algebra, you'll kind of figure out why that works out the way it does. But for right now, just learn the rule. When multiplying or dividing by a negative number, flip the inequality. Learn that, and every time that happens, go ahead and flip the inequality. All right, here's another one. We'll go ahead and work through this. Again, kind of pretending like this is an equal sign right here. Let's just work it the way we know how to work equalities or equations. We're going to add 1 to both sides. That's going to cancel. We're going to get 2x is less than 4. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, we're dividing. I'm going to flip my sign. No. All right, go back up here. When we're doing it by a negative number only, okay, we don't have a negative number. There's no negative number here, right? These are just positive numbers. So we're just going to do our thing, and we're going to get that x is less than 2. And that would be our answer. Don't flip the sign if you're not multiplying or dividing by a negative number. If you're multiplying and dividing by a positive number, leave the sign alone, and then you'll be fine. So again, we would say that any number that's less than 2 should work. So what's a number that's less than 2? Well, 0 is less than 2. So when we go back through this, 0 should solve this inequality. Let's see if it does. We'll just go ahead and plug 0 in there. So 2 times 0 minus 1 is less than 3. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is less than 3. That is correct. That checks. All right, let's do just a couple more, and then we'll be done. We'll be done with math for the whole year, right? Well, you do have some review, but we'll be done with new lessons for the year. So let's finish these out strong, pay attention, and learn something that you'll be able to use in the future as you go into pre-algebra and algebra class. All right, so here we go. We're going to do the same thing. Oh, we got lots of stuff going on. Remember, follow your steps. Do what you can do. Well, look at what I see here. I see that I can combine these two terms. And when I do that, I'm going to get minus 3x plus 9 less than or equal to 12. I'm going to then subtract 9 from both sides, and I'm going to get negative 3x is less than or equal to, and that's going to give me 3. Okay, and now is the trick. Now's the trick, right? So I'm dividing by negative 3 on both sides. Whenever I do that, I have to take this sign and flip it. So you'll take this sign, and we'll go greater than or equal to. That's going to cancel. We're going to get x is greater than or equal to, and this is going to give me a negative 1 over here. And that would be my answer. Again, you could go back and check that, plug that in. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but you could always go back and plug that in, and that will work for you. All right, now this next one is a little bit trickier. You're like, ooh, I thought those last ones were the tricky ones. All right, well, we're getting, progressively trickier. Now watch this. I have two inequalities. Remember what we called these? That's right, compound inequalities. That was from the last lesson. Now, I have my own way to do this, and the book shows you a different way. I'm going to show you both of them. I think the book way is a little bit more confusing. I'll show you my way, the book way, and then you figure out which way you want to do it. What the book says is we take this number in the middle, we have the x in the middle, and then we do it to both sides of the inequality. So in other words, if we're trying to get rid of the 5, we subtract 5 everywhere. Okay? Now, personally, I think that can be a little bit complicated for somebody that's new to learning equations. So instead of that, let me show you what I like to do. I like to take this and make it its own equation. Minus 4 less than or equal to x plus 5. And then I like to take this and make it its own inequality over here. So x plus 5 less than or equal to 4 plus 1. So basically I've taken one compound inequality and I've split it into two, and then at the end we're going to join it back together. You do whatever you want there. It doesn't matter to me, but I think this is an easier method, in my opinion. All right, so we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, and we're going to get negative 9 is less than or equal to x. And that would be part of our answer. Basically, that part of the answer is done. Then we would come over here. Obviously, you can do this. That gives you 5, so x plus 5 less than or equal to 5. We're just going to subtract 5 from both sides. That's going to cancel. We're going to get x is less than or equal to, and 5 minus 5 is 0. So that's our other side of the inequality. So now what we want to do is we want to bring these two things together. Okay, so we're just going to rewrite it, and we're going to just rewrite the x one time in the middle. So you'll get negative 9 is less than or equal to, we'll write our x one time, and then we'll write the rest of it over here, is less than or equal to 0. And this would be our answer right here. You could then take that answer and you could graph it onto your number line, and then you could plug those numbers back in, just like we did in the last lesson. If you don't remember how to do it, go back and watch the other video. Now, that will tell you if you have a correct solution or not. So go back in, plug back in, test those points, and see if it's a solution or not. In this case, we do have a good solution. That's the right answer. All right, let's practice just a couple more of these, and then we will be done. All right, so now let's do it the way the book wants you to do it on this one. And you might say, well, I like that easier because I don't have as much writing. Okay, whatever works for you. Let's divide by 5. We're going to divide this side by 5, and we're going to divide this side by 5. We're going to do it all at once. Okay? Well, what do we get here? we get 5 is less than, we get x here, and then we have this sign here, and then we divide 40 by 5, and we get 8. So then this would be our answer. So sometimes maybe that is a better way to do it if there's not a lot of stuff going on. Here's my problem. When there's all kinds of stuff going on, it gets a little bit more complicated, like this one. So check this out. We have, so you're going to do, okay, we're going to add 4 everywhere, and then we're going to do this, and it starts to get complicated. So on these ones where there's more stuff going on here in the middle, I like to break these up into 2. So 7 less than x over 2 minus 4. And then we'll come over here and we'll do this one, and we'll do x over 2 minus 4 less than 10. Okay? And so just do them separately, and we'll get the same answer if you do it together or separately. All right, so here we're going to add 4 to both sides, and we're going to get 11 is less than x over 2, because this cancels. And then we're going to multiply everything by 2. It's not negative 2 we're multiplying by, it's just 2. So here we get 22 is less than x, and that would be part of our answer. We'll come back over here and we'll do the other side now. So now we're going to add 4 to both sides again, and we're going to come out with x over 2 is less than 14. Again, we're going to multiply both sides by 2, and that's going to cancel, and we're going to get x is less than 14 times 2 is 28. Okay. Now we're going to join those two together and into one answer. 22 less than x, and we only use the x's once, and then we end up with this piece over here, and so that's less than 28. And this would be your final answer. Again, you could put that on the number line, you could sub that back into the original, and you could test it to make sure that your equation or your inequality actually works. So lots of stuff going on there, but it's pretty much the same as what we did in the last lesson. We just are adding something to it. What is that? If you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, okay, you're going to flip that sign. That's it. Other than that, we're going to do the same way that we've been doing equalities. So same way, only that one little difference. You got it. Nothing really that complex in this lesson. Just a little change to what we've been doing in the past. Again, that's all I've got for you. That's all I've got for you for the whole year. All right. But you do have lots of review in your book. So make sure that you go back, you do that review. If you get to a question, you're like, I don't remember how to do this. Go back and watch that video wherever it is. Find that video, watch it again, and remember how to do that. So do that review. Okay. That's going to help you as you're studying for your final exam. Work hard. You're almost finished. I've got faith in you. You can do it. All right. For the last time in intermediate math, that's all I got for you. You have a good one. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.